Independent learners in search of a clue. Becoming independent learners is an important goal and expectation for all students. Students who do not take responsibility for their learning and are not independent in their work are consequently unprepared for assessments. The clue rooms will take a look at a pedagogical switch from lecture-based learning to a project-based learning approach. To move to a project-based learning approach, students need a variety of skills and tools. Each room highlights a different tool that teachers can use to create an activity or project for students to complete independently. In the lounge, Miss Scarlett used a lesson plan to help students solve the clue to independence. The lesson plan is a 2-day lesson on the order of operations. Students are given a task to create their own problems, solve them, and then exchange with other students. Since students have to create the problems, the class will have many examples to choose from, and it prevents students from sitting and waiting for an answer. Another task included is that students will create their own visual representations for the PEMDAS order, which will give students a sense of ownership. Some of the web tools that will be used for this lesson plan are Socrative for pre-assessment, Creasa for students to create a story for the PEMDAS rules, Edmodo for posting equations, Cua, which is a concentration type game, That Quiz for an assessment, and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire for reinforcement. Colonel Mustard in the conservatory ordered an assessment to help find the clue to independence. Assessment tools for math are very difficult to find. A great online math assessment tool can be found at thatquiz.org. That quiz can be used for many units in math and has a variety of levels within each unit. Students can also use the site to practice and study before an assessment. In the library, the socialite, Mrs. Peacock, used social media to help students find a clue to independence. Twitter in the math classroom. Once a week, students will be required to tweet a math problem of a concept they just learned, as well as solve a tweeted problem. Students should also tweet if they see another student has incorrectly solved a problem and explain their reasoning. If for some reason Twitter is blocked, then the same concept would work with a classroom blog using WordPress or Edmodo. In the study, the nutty Professor Plum has a wild card idea to help students find a clue towards independence. Students would keep a quest log, very much like in the world of Warcraft, because a part of independence is taking responsibility for one's own education. Students need to be able to keep track of their progress in a project-based learning environment. Students will create and maintain an e-portfolio using LiveBinder. Within their LiveBinder, the folders will include a submission of their work and resources for later reference. In the dining room, Mrs. White has a clean solution to finding independence for student learners. Infographics are visual graphic representations of information, data, or knowledge which can be used by teachers to engage students. The learner will use the information from an infographic to create and solve percentage of change word problems. On Kathy Schrock's Guide to Everything website, she has some wonderful information about infographics. She has lots of samples as well as many uses on how to use infographics within her site. In the billiard room, Mr. Green doesn't play around when it comes to finding a clue to independence. Well, maybe. The use of popular games can be of assistance within the classroom. In the slope quest, students will demonstrate the 4 kinds of slope using a game called Line Rider. Students will draw 3 of each of the 4 kinds of slope and label each kind of slope. They will take a screencast of what they have drawn with their labels and present to the teacher. In the kitchen, Mr. Body is dying to help students become independent learners. Students can show their level of understanding by creating their own presentations. In Angle Relations Quest, students will create a presentation of examples of angle relations with definitions using Yodio for the slideshow and record their own voice. Hopefully, this version of Clue will help to solve the mystery of student independence.